His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me.
Welcome back to the front porch of His Sparrow. Today we're going to be talking about something that's rather painful, but I know God has put it on my heart to share it. Matter of fact, I can't even finish the work I'm supposed to be doing today because God has put it on my heart to share some things that have just been bouncing around in my head, and I want to share some things that will help make going through a divorce easier for you and easier for your kids. The pain of divorce is one of the deepest valleys probably the deepest valley I've ever gone through. I went through a divorce 9 years ago. And I know it's the deepest valley that my kids have gone through, and for my ex-husband too. It's painful all around. But if I can give a word of hope, here we are 9 years later. The pain doesn't stay painful. It gets better. And all of us, me, my children, my ex-husband, all of us have grown through this time. Only God can do that. Only God can bring beauty from ashes. When we give our painful experiences to Him, God can take it and transform us. I know when I started into this journey that God put on my heart to write down the journey. Write it down so you'd remember and so you'd have it to share with others. A couple years ago, a friend gave me this quote, and this is my motive right here. Tell the story of the mountain you climbed. Your words could be the page on someone else's survival guide. That was by Morgan Harper Nichols. I tell you, every time I read that quote, it brings me to tears. Just because I think of so many that are going through divorce and the kids that are involved, and my heart hurts. I have friends going through it, and my heart hurts because I know the pain that you're facing. But I want to give some words of hope. And I also want to share some things with you that helped me get through it. And not all of these things will work for you because your situation is different. But these are the things that worked for me. These are the things that worked for my kids. My boys, when we went through our separation divorce, were 9, 7, and 4. So they were quite little. But I can honestly say that on the other side of it, 9 years later, that we are stronger, and they've come through it quite well. And they will look back, and they say it themselves. They don't have a broken home. They have 2 happy homes. And so if you're going through divorce, I know it's not your choice. You never dreamed of going through divorce. But if you're going through it, there's a way to go through it that can bring healing. You know, Satan's plan for your divorce is that it will bring more wounds, that it will be devastating to you and your children, and destructive. But God's plan for you as you go through this is He wants to be with you. And He has said He is with us in our darkest hour. And He wants to help you through it. And His plan for you as you go through this divorce is to bring healing, is to bring growth, and to bring, as I said earlier, beauty from ashes. And it's possible. Okay, I have 5 things that I want to share that I think will help your children make it through divorce easier, which means it's going to help you too. First of all, don't withhold visitation of your partner, the other partner, the parent, with your children. I see this over and over. I don't know why parents do this. Sometimes it's the mom, and she will keep the dad from being able to see the kids. Do you not realize that this hurts your children? Even if he's a schmuck, he's still their dad. and they need him. I see dads that have parental rights, and they will not let their kids see their mom. Why? Every kid needs their mom, and you can't make a substitute for that. You really can't. And so I want to encourage you, work with them. Make it possible for your kids to spend time with that other parent. You know, we see all these statistics of how bad divorce is on kids and what they could end up happening. You know what I think it really is? Is when kids don't have access to both parents. I think that's where the true damage happens, is when boys don't have a dad, when girls don't have a dad, or girls, you know, boys don't have a mom or girls don't have a mom. I think that's where the damage is. Now, if you are in a circumstance where that other partner does not want to have a role as a parent or just are out of the picture, then I really encourage you to find, I mean, maybe your dad or your uncle, or like if it's the father that's not in the picture, find a really good male role model that will be there for your boys. If you don't have a mom in the picture at all, then find a really good female role model to help fill that. But if you have an ex-spouse that wants to be a part of your kid's life, by all means, please let them be a part of your kid's life. Don't withhold that. Now, another part that goes along with this is don't speak bad about your ex around your kids. Don't let that come out of your mouth. I know you have a lot of hurt and anger, and you want to, but don't let that come out of your mouth around your kids. I don't know what it is, but somehow they're connected to that parent. And you speaking bad about them, about that parent, is like speaking bad about your kids. They identify with that. It hurts you. It'll come back and it'll hurt you. It hurts the ex. It hurts your kids. Just don't allow bad speaking. If you have to speak bad about them, then go talk to a girlfriend or a guy friend or a counselor about it. But don't say it around your kids. I know. I was a kid of a divorced family, and it pained me every time I heard that. And I know that your ex is not perfect, but they are the parent. And so keep yourself from speaking negatively. And another part of this, God even tells us to do this. You need to pray for them. You need to pray blessings on them and mean it. And don't be surprised then when God does bless them. Don't be angry when God does bless them. But pray blessings on them. This is going to help your heart stay open to them. And that's what you want. You want good for them. Because you know what? You want them to be, they may not have been a good spouse to you, but you want them to be a good parent to your kids. So you want them to be healthy and happy and whole. So keep praying for that, for them. And keep praying good. And always encourage that relationship with your kids and them. And even if you run into bumps along the way, and your kids might come to you saying, why did Dad do that? Or why did Mom do that? And you can say, I don't know. But they're still learning. They're still trying to become a good parent. But I know they care about you. I know they love you. And repeat that to your kids all the time. And repeat it to yourself. That is still the parent, the other parent to that child. And no one else is going to take that place. So promote that relationship in your own mind and in the minds of your children. When some little things that I found for visitation, we talk about don't keep that from happening. And you may have specific visitation days, and you want to have those times be good. You want to cooperate in that. Do things to make it easier on your kids. I had custodial rights. I have custodial rights. And so the boys go to their dads every other weekend and one day in the week. And then in the summer, I try to make it so they can have more time. And because he really is a good dad, and he loves his boys and wants to have a role in their life and has played a major role in who they are. But I had a dad bag, we called it, and it was always packed with an extra change of clothes. And you work that out with your ex. Some parents have it worked out where they live 1 week with them, 1 week with you. work out those little details away from the kids. Don't let them hear you arguing. It makes them feel bad. And so work it out. Do things to make it as easy as possible on your kids. And here's something that I found when they were little, especially when we first started, we ran into bumps relationally, emotionally, when they would come back from their dads. That first couple hours, they were just out of whack. They would fight with each other. They would fight with me. I think they were just so full of emotion, they didn't know what to do with it. And they were very unsettled. And not that anything bad happened at their dad's. It was just this transition from going from dad's house and his rules and his expectations and how they play, how they eat, back to mom's. And it was a different thing, and it just whacked them out. Well, one of the things that I found helped was to have a neutral place in between. For a while there, their dad would take them to a babysitter that watched them for a couple hours. And it was because I was going to a Bible study counseling session at the time. And so they went there for a couple hours, and then I picked them up. And that just really helped the kids. I noticed, I kind of noticed this by accident. And it helped them, and they were more settled. For a while there, we worked out one thing where they would stay the night with their dad, and he would take them to school. And then I would pick them up from school. And so that time at school kind of neutralized everything. If it couldn't be that way, I found out if I took them to a park and we could just play, this neutral place. And it just seemed to help them. But coming directly from dads to moms or moms to dads, it just seemed to be all uneven. So that's just a little tidbit, some experience that I've had. Now, the boys don't have that at all, as old as they are and as many years as we've had gone by. And it's very peaceful now between the two homes. And at first it wasn't. It takes a while to work out that dance. Another thing is share the load financially. If you are paying child support, something you need to know, that child support pretty much pays the extra cost of housing and food and basic clothing. All the extra things like camps and tuition and all the extra things at school, supplies, all those things for sports and lessons, it doesn't cover that. And if it's that kind of role where one parent has the children the majority of the time and you're paying child support, you need to be willing to split the cost of those things. I've heard too many people have that idea that, well, child support pays for that. It doesn't. It doesn't, because that custodial parent is probably living in a larger house than they regularly would be, and they have to pay for that. And the groceries it doesn't even scratch the surface of how much groceries there are, and there's just so many other expenses that go along with it. So share your load. It really communicates to your children that you care about them, and that is the most important thing, is that you show your kids that you care and that you're there for them, and that you don't let your kids suffer for the fact that you and your partner couldn't work it out. Don't let your kids suffer for it. Here's something that you have to really watch for. I think especially if it's a mom taking care of her kids, don't let your kids become your companions. You don't have a spouse. You don't have a partner. And I know that you throw yourself into your children if you're a really intentional parent. And you have to be so careful you don't let them become your friends. You have to stay the parent. So the only way to do that really is you have to have friends your own age. And you have to have a social life outside of your kids. And so if you have a social life, a dating life, outside of your kids. Now, let me encourage you, do that don't take away from your kids as much as possible. Don't be out on the weekends and leaving your kids at home. Go out when your kids are with their dad or their mom. But try to have the time you're at home with them, be home with them. Because, you're only going to have half the time with them. And that was sobering for me. And holidays were really, I'll do a whole episode sometime about holidays. No one prepared me for holidays. That was an eye-opener. And so, but even just time alone, you're going to have more time alone. Well, use that time to connect with other people and to feed yourself and to socialize. Because if you end up being friends with your kids, you won't discipline as much. You can't be outside of that and see that. And you know what? Your kids are going to grow up and move on. And you need to be whole in yourself so you can let them go. And number 5, okay, this is going to sound crazy to some of you, especially if you are new, if the divorce is brand new here. You need to start praying for that future stepmom or stepdad. Because you know what, more than likely, they are going to have a step-parent. And who that step-parent is huge. This is someone that is going to influence your children, that your children will be living with, and maybe step-siblings, you know. And so you be bathing that in prayer. Be praying that they are godly, that they will be good to your children, that they'll be wise, that they'll help your children grow into the young men and women that they're meant to be. Start praying now. And even let your children know you're praying about it. Now, another word about remarriage. I just learned this less than a year ago, that inside 95% of our children is this secret hope that you're going to get back together with your ex. They hope for it. They dream for it. I know when I was a kid, I did. I didn't think my kids did, though. But it's there. And so that means whoever is the first to remarry, there's a death of a dream inside your kids. And it's going to be harder for them to adjust. And so I think even talking about the future step-parent and praying for him, I prayed out loud with my kids about their future stepmom. And at first they're like, what are you doing, Mom? And I'm like, well, it's really important to me that you have someone that's really godly and good to you, so I'm going to start praying now. And it helped me adjust to the idea, and it helped them adjust and to that too. And they have a fantastic stepmom. I just want to say she's wonderful. And she is an answer to prayer. And she brings life into their life. And we can work well together. So make that a matter of prayer. Now, more than likely you're going to remarry. I would really encourage you to wait. I've seen folks jump into marriage, remarriage, not healed. It takes time to heal. And also, you need to take time and look and see, why did you divorce? I guarantee it wasn't all their fault. It takes two. And you need to make sure you don't repeat the same things, because we have a tendency that there's some brokenness in us, there was brokenness in them, and we could not resolve the issues. Well, if you don't heal that brokenness, you are going to take it right back into another relationship. You're going to have to deal with it. I think it's better to deal with it before you remarry, and you definitely don't want to go through another divorce. And did you know that divorces, the percentage, the likelihood of a divorce after, the second divorce is more likely than the first. And I think it just is because of undealt with issues. So do the hard work. Get healing. Don't just try to fill that loneliness void with a body. Have God's choice. Do it in God's time, in God's way. And I tell you what, your whole family will reap the benefits from that. And so I want to encourage you to do the work. And also, you need to consider your children when you remarry. And I know most people say, oh, of course I would. Well, is it the best time? Maybe you're ready for remarriage, but are your kids ready for it? Maybe you've even found a wonderful partner, but are your kids ready? Because it's just not you getting married now. Like the first time, it was just you. It is you and your children. And you need to make sure it's good all around. You're responsible to make sure that it's all around. It's a package deal now. And so you need to prayerfully consider that, what is best all around. And they need to be ready for it too. And so prayerfully consider that and think about ways to make it better for them. All right. I hope that this has been helpful. And if you know someone that's going through divorce, or if you're going through divorce, I hope it's helpful to you. But if you know someone that's going through divorce and they have kids, I pray that you would send this to them. It might be easier for them to hear it from someone else. And maybe there's even just a couple things in this that, I have a bumblebee right here, a couple things in it that would help and bring help and healing and hope in a dark situation. It is possible, friend, to get through it, and to get through it even with joy. I know there's going to be sorrow and grieving, but with doing it with God right beside you and walking with you through it, there is hope. God bless. I hope that was helpful, friends. Hey, if these Sparrow episodes are encouraging you, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notifications, you just have to click that little bell and you'll get notifications. And I would love for you to leave some comments, because, you know, your comments could help others. And so if you have questions, if you have other things that you'd like me to touch on, please let me know. But also, your comments can really help others along the way. So please feel free to add your comments on there.